Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. We're doing another love and relationship reading, and let's start with the astrological influences. So, not surprising, Mercury came out. We are still in Mercury retrograde. It is a very significant energy showing up right now in terms of love and relationships, how you show up in relationships, where your Mercury is in your chart might tell you more about it. I talked about this in my last reading about getting your free birth chart and seeing where all the planets are, what signs are in the planets, or however you say it. I believe my Mercury is in Aquarius, so that's how my mind, like, that would tell you more about like how your mind operates. So now I want to double check, but I want to read this first. So that's a big influence right now. And then we had the water element, which is sensing. Obviously, water represents our emotions. I talk about this so much in the tarot. This is why tarot and astrology are so linked together, because it represents aspects of astrology. But what I really felt when I first pulled these was that we're learning how to get them to work together, right? I see and feel the world moving into a place of inclusion, like more inclusion. So that means it's not like use only your mind, or your mind is the best, or use only your feelings, or your emotions are the best way to go about things. It's like, how do we use both? Because both have, sorry, I'm like fixing my hair. Both have strengths, and we have both for a reason, right? It's not like one is better than the other. It's just they have different strengths and skills. And we see that a lot of the time they're actually fighting with each other, or they're not in alignment with each other, because I don't think we were ever really taught how to integrate them. And it's no fault of anyone's except just society and how we've evolved. Oh my God, did you see my veins just pop out when I said that? Look at that. Ew, is that my vein? That's weird. Sorry. So it's like I said, it's not anyone's fault. I'm like not trying to find fault in anyone, but just realizing what the core, I love getting to like the core issue of, if you see like this is coming up and it's a block, or it's something we need to work on or heal, it's like, let's get to the core of it. So we're not just trying to like, because I feel like most of our society is just, let's put band-aids on all these cuts, but like it keeps getting ripped open, or the same cut keeps happening, or we keep hurting ourselves in the same way, and we're like, I wonder why? Do we ever think about, I wonder why? Like, if I ever hear about a new medical thing, or somebody's like, oh, somebody got this, my first question is, well, how do you get something like that? Right? I want to know, like, is it preventable? How do we prevent this from happening in the future? How do we teach other people how to not do that? Right? It's like when you're teaching your child about why brushing your teeth is important. This is a big conversation in my house. It's important to brush your teeth so that you don't get cavities, so you don't have to keep going to the dentist, and spending a lot of money on your teeth. I mean, yes, you can easily go get that fixed if you want to be lazy about it, but like the reason that you take care of your teeth is so that you don't have to do that, and because it just helps. It's also connected to most other things in your body, like, anyway. So when you have a disease somewhere in your body, it's going to spread to other parts of your body, was what I was trying to say. So I digress. I wanted to read part of this Mercury that stood out to me, and the reason why I think these two are showing up together. It says, Mercury is the wisdom and the stupidity found in intelligence when it is not connected to the heart or the feelings. So I see there's a lot of, excuse me, cat hair, and like, as soon as I start talking, I start like, I don't know, purging my throat chakra. I see a lot of people who are very logical, very practical, and that's how they make decisions, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it can go to the extreme where you're not tapped into your emotions and you're completely ignoring how you feel. So that would show up in like, I'm choosing this job because it's more logical, right? Because it's closer to home, or because it pays this amount of money. But when you go there, you just feel dead inside and you hate it, or you don't like the way you feel. You don't really actually care for the company or the boss or whatever it is. you don't connect to it in an emotional way. And to me, that doesn't sound fun. If you were to ask somebody like who is willing to admit it, I bet they would say that doesn't sound fun. But someone who's very logical would be like, no, that just what makes sense. That's what I have to do, right? And they're completely ignoring their body and how they feel. And I don't believe that's the healthiest. And then there can be the opposite, which is somebody who's only going off of what they feel and their emotions, and that can be very detrimental too, because it's like, I'm choosing this person because I feel so good with them, but are they actually logically looking at like can this person be a good partner long term down the road, right? Or are they really actually processing like what's coming up for them, like in terms of why they're super comfortable with it? What if it's really toxic and it's just them replaying an old wound and pattern that they need to heal? And it's, like I said, they're not logically thinking long term, is this best for me, or choosing a job just because sometimes I feel like teachers, me being a teacher, is like we're led by our heart and we want to just help and make a difference, but then we don't look, oh, is this going to be like a good decision long term, in terms of like, I'm just going to suck it up and accept that amount of money, even though that doesn't make sense. Like, why are teachers paid like so shit in our society, right? It's just, it doesn't make sense. Like, it's not logical. And so it's about finding both within yourself, especially with making decisions. And I believe this came up in one of my other readings. So if you haven't been watching those, I recommend going back and watching them because they all kind of weave together. And then what did I want to read here? No, I can't. Let's see. Oh, it talks about imagination. So imagination does come from a mind, because the Mercury card talked about imagination too. And says in astrology, the element of water represents our emotions and our talents of the imagination. Water characterizes the realm of vision, taking us into the quintessential depths of feeling, where intuition is more appropriate than acquired wisdom and knowledge. So again, we're seeing the strengths of it, right? Mercury is the wisdom and stupidity found in intelligence when there's no heart or feelings. And then water characterizes the realm of vision, taking us into the quintessential depths of feeling, where intuition is more important than acquired wisdom and knowledge. But I'm here to argue that both are important. It's not one or the other. Sometimes one is more important than the other in terms of where do you come from first. I do feel coming from your intuition most of the time is better. That's just because I'm highly intuitive. But however, I can get very confused sometimes with my own intuition, and I have to then seek guidance, clarity. It's also why people come to me, is because they are usually highly intuitive, or they're picking up on something intuitively, but they cannot necessarily make sense of it. And so it's about how getting those two aspects of us to work together so that we can make good decisions in our life, basically. Especially when it comes to love, and relationships are the biggest thing in our life. We have relationship to everything. So even, it's not just love that comes out in these readings, it's relationships. Could be to friends, family, partnerships in business, career, relationship to yourself, to your children. So like I said, everything in life is a relationship to something else. So that's why learning how to make the best decisions for yourself helps you show up more authentically and helps you choose relationships in your life that will be good for you and long lasting. And you're not just choosing from your mind because I'm going to stay with this person because it makes more sense, right? Because it's logical, because of whatever reasons, because we own a home together, because we're married and it'll be too difficult, right? But your heart is like, I'm just not in love with this person anymore. Or staying with somebody because you're like, oh, I feel so connected to them. But logically it doesn't make sense because this person doesn't actually treat you that well, right? And you're like, what are you doing, sis? Like, okay, that doesn't make sense to other people on the outside. So it's about learning how to use both. And learning how to decipher when do you use intuition and have that be the guiding force, and when do you use logic and have that be the guiding force, because like Mercury can also be a trickster energy. Like the mind can play tricks on us. It says that in the card. It was talking about that. And so sometimes we can be very confused, and that's why it's important not to just give in to whatever we're thinking or whatever we're feeling, because our mind can make us think something that makes us feel something, And again, it's just playing tricks on us. So like this card is the equivalent to the magician. And what does a magician do? They create, right? Magicians create things, but they also create illusions. And they can trick us into seeing or thinking or feeling something that didn't actually happen, or, so that somehow that's playing in, and we'll see possibly, is it like is our mind playing tricks on us, or is our intuition, I don't know. Hold on. I'm sorry. Fuck. Look at this. We have Water of Wisdom, some more water. These are my visionary cards by, I don't know how to say this, Noah, is it Nafo? This is like a indie artist. I got these, like, this is the very first deck I ever got before I started reading tarot. I haven't used it in a long time. It's been in a drawer down here. Anyways, I'm going to read what these mean. And then we have the Rebel. I love this. The images are so cool. The Rebel, I feel like, represents the mind. And obviously, I think the Water of Wisdom represents water. At least to me. The Rebel. The Rebel represents an energy that comes from within and is unapologetically authentic. Don't be afraid to use the Rebel energy to create new situations. This takes getting into higher vibrations and consciousness. Be original. The information comes from within, not from your external environment. Take from your own ideas and thoughts. So I feel like that's how you get your intuition and your mind to work together, is you don't look outside of yourself for the answers. So I think that's when we maybe get tripped up. We feel something, our intuition tells us something, and then instead of like allowing us to figure it out, like trusting ourselves to figure it out, we then go to the outside, to somebody else, like say, you come and get a reading from me. Not to say that that's a bad thing. Sometimes we do need that just for confirmation, or if we're practicing, right, and we need someone to reflect it back to us. I've done it a lot of times, but I also believe in teaching other people how to do the same things that I do, which is coming to my own conclusions, using my intuition and trying to figure it out on my own. And I do believe that aspects of this, like using your own intuition and having discernment, right, came up in some of the other readings. So that's how you do get them to work together, is you go to yourself, like you feel something, and that's where the guidance comes from first. You feel something, your intuition's telling you something, and then you go to your mind and you're like, hey, let's figure this out together, right? Like, tell me. And then that's developing that trust between those two aspects of you, your mind and your emotions. And it's like with any relationship, the more it'll strengthen, the more that you do it. So the more that your mind gives you the roadmap to it, right? And you listen and you take action on it, the more that your mind's going to trust you, and it's not going to play tricks on you, right? It is kind of funny and weird to talk about your like aspects of yourself, like your mind and your heart or your body, as separate from you, but honestly they are. If they're not integrated, if they're not already working together, they are separated, they are fragmented, they're not in union. So that's why it's, when you're learning how to integrate them and get them to work together, that's why I talk like that. I know it sometimes sounds a little strange. Okay, so Water of Wisdom. There's wisdom in everything in the world, even in the simplest of things. Try drinking water as if it's your first time. Experience it without judgment. Feel yourself tasting it and the water going through your body. Know that there is wisdom even in this. Drop all ego and judgment, and notice when you are moving through life in an automated way. When you live in an automated mode, you miss the wisdom that lies all around you. So I do feel like that picks up on what I was saying in the beginning about noticing how you feel in your environments. And yeah, like when you're tapped in to your emotions, it's like you notice all the little things, all the little sensations, or the things outside of you, like, oh my gosh, I just saw that butterfly pass by and it was blue and it was so pretty. And I do that all the time. I'm like, oh, look at that squirrel. Or like, I just notice things out, and then I'm like, look, and they're like, no, I didn't see it. Right. So it's like, usually people are stuck in their heads when they're not present in the moment, witnessing these things. So if you have trouble being present in your body and feeling and noticing and sensing, that's a good example of like, do everything as if it was the first time you ever did it. That's what's wonderful about children, right? They wake up with this renewed vigor for life every single day, and they're excited. And like my son is so happy to do the same thing over and over and over and over again every day, or just until he's tired of it. And it's still fun for him, and it can still be brand new every single time. And I notice myself being like getting bored with it or whatever. But like, I appreciate that about him so much, because I know that like consistency is important, and like, especially with like integration, when you're integrating something, you're learning something new, consistency, repetition is really important. But I think it's also just like, it's like acting as if you've never experienced it before, and as if everything is a brand new experience and moment. So I'm looking at his picture right now while I say that. All right, let's get to the Lenormand, and dear God, let's hope that I don't have to pull out. I will listen this time when they tell me to stop pulling cards and just move on. Because Jesus Christ. See, I get confused. My mind gets confused. See, you want to see an example of it playing out is when I'm pulling cards and I'm getting an intuitive hit to move on, but then I'm like, no, I need clarity, right? That's my mind being like, no, I need to know. But like, that's not trusting. That's my mind not trusting my intuition. The birds, this one has been coming out for me a lot. The birds is a 12, which is a 3, and the mind is a 3, or Mercury is a 3. 1 plus 2 is 3, obviously. If you didn't know. But it's about communication. The birds are about communication. Also about words. So that is the mind. And then more birds. So we have the storks. I can't remember exactly what the storks mean, but let me look. So 12. See if anything stands out. There's multiple different birds. So like there's these ones. These are called the songbirds. Which is more like light and excited and enthusiastic and playful. It can represent music as well and singing. And then they're in this deck. So there's the songbirds, there's chickens, and then there's the owls, and they all represent something different. And it talks about healing in the form of speech. I create healing through my words. I mean, it says, whether it is a call to see a counselor or just talk to a good friend, a problem shared is a problem halved. So maybe it is about, but I do feel, because we're really talking about how to, I think it's you talking to yourself, whether that's like journaling or just, these readings that I do, I watch them back and they really help me, and they help me process things too. I realize things that come out, and these help me just as much as hopefully they help whoever's watching. And, so it could be stuff like that, right? You recording yourself and listening back, or it could be talking to yourself. Sometimes I don't realize what's actually there until I actually talk to somebody and it comes out that way. So some kind of communication through words, and it's representing healing. To heal a relationship, but again, I feel like it's the relationship within yourself, that the relationship that is not working. However, it's not working with your mind and your feelings. Your body and your mind are not working together in some way, which is probably why maybe the relationship isn't showing up, or that thing you're trying to manifest, or why you feel stuck, or why you're watching this reading, it could be an indication of that happening. So let me go. So I really feel like it's healing through words, through this relationship with your intuition and your feelings and your mind. So I do feel journaling might be good in terms of, like, I think I just told somebody else to do this, is like writing a letter to yourself, right? So if we're talking this, it's like a mind writing your letter to your body, a body or your intuition, whatever resonates for you. And your intuition writing a letter to your mind and seeing what they want to say back and forth to each other, and then finding some kind of middle ground and healing, right? That's how you heal relationships usually, is you talk about the hard things. You actually openly communicate and share honestly about how you feel. But it could represent a relationship outside of you as well. Maybe you need to open up and talk to somebody and tell them how you feel. Whether that's you writing a letter to somebody and never sending it, sometimes that helps, or it is talking to them or writing a letter or having a conversation with somebody in order to heal a relationship. It could represent something within your life, a relationship within your life too. So take it as it resonates for you. So the storks represent change, movement, migration, transition. It does also represent pregnancy, because obviously, like, the whole storks bringing the baby when we're not being honest about where babies come from. However that came about. It says, it is a time to move on from where you are. Spiritual change can be challenging, yet it is also very beneficial. As you progress on your path, new vistas open up to you. I embrace change. I move in the direction of positive change. So there is some kind of evolution that's wanting to happen. And I do feel like it's your mind usually our minds needing to evolve, because I feel like our emotions, our intuition, our bodies tend to easily shift and flow. That's what emotions do, is they flow. So through some kind of communication, there will be, I want to get one more. Okay, one more, and then that's it. I swear. Okay, it's the man. So it's, the man, I believe. And it's a 10. 8 plus 2 is 10, which is completion. So something needs to wrap up, and it's going to come through the form of communication with, it looks like, possibly a man. So it could be a man, friend, husband, partner, father, soulmate. If we're talking about love and relationships, it could be any of these things. Someone like your father. What did it say? Father? Yeah, father, your husband, your partner, whether even just a friend, somebody in your life who you need to wrap something up with, or it's like you need to communicate how you feel about a situation. And again, whether that's just you writing a letter, or sometimes speaking it out loud and recording yourself and listening to it back and getting it out. It just, the words need to come out in order to heal and allow some kind of change to happen. I feel like change can't happen until until you do this. It says rationality and action come to the fore, as do men who are spiritual role models. So yeah, I'm feeling like, like rational, like you need to be rational about a situation and communicate in terms of the healing of it in order to move forward. I'm so tempted to get another one. Should I? No, I'm going to trust that it is okay. So I'm going to go into the tarot, actually. I'm going to use my Crystal Visions. I was feeling very magical this morning. Decided to switch it up and use my Crystal Visions deck. So tell us more about what is happening with this change and this shift and this communication. Yeah, and I'm looking at this Rebel card, and it was about, like, talked about being unapologetically authentic. I feel like, yeah, there's you possibly hold back or don't share your full truth with either a person, or you haven't in the past and it needs to come out, or you're not fully aware that there's still some truth there to unearth, and it needs to come out. Yeah, the Five of Swords. And that's the Five of Swords coming out is, well, it's about mental conflict and sometimes feeling like you're being sabotaged, mentally sabotaged, in terms of that trickster energy. But you'll see that, like, she has two swords in her back, and that person's walking away like he did it. So that to me indicates possibly the reason that your mind possibly is not on board with, like, how you feel is because your mind's like, you need to say this, you need to do this, especially maybe if you see this person all the time, or you had a chance to do or say something, right? Have a conversation. You need to say this, you need to do this. And if you're not listening to it, that's when it's going to get restless and be like, what the fuck? Like, and get mad at you, and maybe even then try to trick you because they're like, well, fuck you. I'm like, they're pissed at you now. But it seems like but it really, again, it's like, it's trying to work in your favor, but you're not allowing how you feel about the situation, or you're allowing how you feel about the situation to overtake what your mind is telling you, which is like, and we need to get this out, or we need to say this in order to change this relationship because the relationship's not good for you, and maybe possibly you're just not listening to your mind in that aspect. Oh shit, that one went flying. The Empress. So the Empress is the mother archetype. She is pregnant in this energy, or in this card. But it's also about fertility and harvest, and it doesn't have to be actual pregnancy or whatever. But, it's mother, and I immediately got, like, it could be mother, or, like, someone, if you're married or if you have children with someone, it could be the person you have a child with. Or it could be needing to... I'm not going to take those. Mother or father relationships, too. But yeah, there's something, strength. Strength is Leo energy, but it is about developing your inner strength, taming your inner beast through gentleness and not force. That's a really big message, because this small woman is able to, not want to say overpower, but overpower this lion who is a beast because of her gentleness. So maybe that's the fear, is that you're like afraid of how the communication will come out, that it won't. There's some fear around this communication. Two of Cups. Two of Cups is about love and harmony. Going on a date with somebody, or sharing your cup with somebody. Well, yeah, I just get there is some fear around actually having a conversation with somebody, whether that's somebody from your past you need to clean things up with, or it's someone you have feelings for and you're afraid to tell them. You're afraid to admit that you feel this way still, or you're afraid to admit that they hurt you if it's someone from the past, because it makes you feel weak or less, whatever, humiliated, embarrassed. The Page of Wands, pages are about messages. Wands represent fire, which is passion. But she's like sitting still and like allowing these candles to burn out. I don't know why I've noticed that. Like the sitting on it, I gotta sit with it. I gotta sit and allow another 5. 5 of Cups is about regret. Looking at things that didn't work out in the past and feeling regret. Yeah, like sitting with, allowing the fire to burn out. So I feel like maybe it's like, yeah, you having feelings for this person that you need to communicate with, but allowing the fire and the whatever, because I don't know if it's like passionate or just like anger. It could be either. Honestly, I feel good it's more anger. You have some anger towards this person because of maybe how they treated you, how it didn't work out, whatever your anger is coming from, but it's not fully released. You haven't allowed yourself to fully release it. So you're just like sitting there eating it, basically. Just watching the candles burn, but not fully allowing yourself to feel it. And just sitting and feeling regretful. Instead, you're getting all tied up in your emotions around it, instead of allowing yourself to somatically move it through your body, right? Then we have the Page of Cups. Again, more messages, or it is about stillness too. It's not about action yet. And this would be about sitting and contemplating how you feel. Possibly a small offer of love or a small opening. The Knight of Wands is about quick movement in and out. Passion, again, fiery. It's like back and forth. I go from liking you to then feeling whether that, like, they say there's this fine line between love and hate. I get that energy, because it's like we go from, it's interesting. We went from the 5 of Swords, which is like mental anguish, basically. The Empress, which is like a really wonderful card, like being in love with somebody, possibly, wanting to create with them. And then the Strength card, which is like, oh, I need to tame this beast. And then the 2 of Cups, which is about, oh, I love you. And then there's the Page of Wands, which is like, oh, I just got to sit here and just let this like die. Let this feeling move out of me. And then there's the 5 of Cups, like, oh, I really miss this person, or I really want this person. Then there's the Page of Cups that's like, oh, I'm feeling it again. I'm just going to sit here and look at it Then there's a Knight of Wands. It's like, oh my God, I need you now, right? So it is almost like it's building this energy, but you see how it's going back and forth between like, oh my God, I have so many feelings for you, or it's either I have so many feelings for you, or it's I don't like that I have feelings for you, or I'm feeling like regret over what happened in the past, and then it's like, oh my God, but I'm like so drawn to you, I so want you, or oh, I fucking hate you. And then the Lovers. The Lovers is Gemini energy. We are in Gemini season, but it is about your counterpart, that person who matches you, who is your mirror, and like I said, a counterpart. It's not someone who is the exact person you are. It's like they will be your complement, which is what I feel like a counterpart is. So they complement you, which means they're going to have aspects of that you kind of lack or need, and vice versa. But you're going to be on but the reason it's going to work is because you're going to be able to balance each other through those things, right? Because you complement each other. Not everyone is always going to complement you. So it is also about choices. And that's where I get is like, choose how you want to feel about this person. I feel like there's a lot of conflicting energies, like, oh my God, I fucking hate them. Like, or I feel like they stabbed me in the back, and then you're like, oh, but like, I love them, or I feel very motherly, or I want to nurture them. And then you're like, no, I need to like tame this beast. Like, I'm just going back, like, at all of these conflicting feelings. No, I love them. No, now I feel regret because like nothing has happened. And now it's like, oh, I really want to talk to them. I really want to, have sex with them. I'm so attracted to them. And it's like, choose how you want to feel. Do you love them or do you hate them? And that's this energy of the Lovers. I feel like the Lovers is about a choice. And I've talked about this in one of my other readings about the choice, how we always have a choice in relationships. So what are you choosing? And if you're wanting a relationship to work with somebody or wanting it to change, what are you choosing to look at within them, and what are you choosing to focus on? So whatever you focus on grows. Like attracts like. So if all you're thinking about are the flaws, or how they screwed you over, or all the bad things, or whatever, then you're just going to see more of that, and you're going to attract more of that. But if you see you see and notice all the great things, the loving things, and the things you appreciate about them, then that's going to grow, right? That's how relationships end up lasting, is because you learn how to focus on the good things. And it doesn't mean there's never going to be anything to work on or improve, or that there's not going to be conflict. But even during conflict, you're like, okay, how can we work together and love each other through this still, and support each other? And it's us against the problem, not us against each other. The 10 of Wands, putting burdens down. Feeling burden and putting it down. Again, it's a 10, so that means it's coming to an end, or it's a simultaneous ending and beginning. So you're choosing to put the burdens down that in the past you allowed to keep you from feeling the love for somebody. 6 of Swords and the Hanged Man. Yeah. The 6 of Swords is about, and again, this can be with any relationship. It doesn't have to be a love relationship, but I think how you are in one relationship is how you are in all of them. So it has to do with yourself, with any other relationship. So moving on to calmer waters, choosing to put the swords down, choosing not to be fucking stabbing yourself with the swords, or stabbing somebody else with the swords. You're like, I choose peace and love and harmony. And because 6s represent harmony and balance. You're learning how to balance your thoughts around whether it's a person or just love and relationships in general. Because again, it can show up in business partnerships, in friendships, family relationships, how you see, and what do you focus on with people? What do you notice about people? Are you only focusing on the negative, or are you like, can you see the positive too? And maybe there's possibly forgiveness, and it's in the form of communicating with somebody else, whether it's yourself or actually having a conversation with someone, in order to to change, to shift and change. Because I feel like you're attempting to make a change or a shift in your life, but it's not happening, and you're not sure why. And it's because of the thoughts you're thinking and how you're feeling, or how you're allowing yourself to feel about them. And it's directly related to relationships outside of you, which is why things aren't changing on the outside of you. But then it also represents like how you are with yourself. So is this how you treat yourself? Do you trust your own intuition? Do you trust your own mind? Or are those two relationships at odds with, or are those two aspects of you at odds with each other? Then we have the Hanged Man. Hanged Man is about seeing something from a different perspective. So he has to go completely upside down in order to see this new perspective. So yeah, it's going to have to be basically is it 180 or 360? 360 I think is when you come full circle, so I think it's a 180 possibly. Where you have to, it's going to be a big shift. It's a big shift because you easily fall into the Nine of Swords, which is stress. And she doesn't look stressed in this card, but you know what, that's what I get though, is like you're learning how to rest. So like I know rest has been coming up a lot in the readings. Like you're learning how to rest your mind so that you don't get so stressed, because maybe that's what it is you're relying on your mind way too much to give you the answers or to know what to do, that it becomes burnt out and exhausted. And you're not relying so much on your intuition. Whether that's just because you don't trust it or because in the past you got hurt when you listened to your intuition, something to that effect. But the Nine of Swords is about sleepless nights, stressful thoughts, just mental agony. But I think in order for you to see what you've been doing is like you have to go into the forest by yourself and turn completely upside down in order to see that this is what you've been doing to yourself. Because nobody else is doing it to you. It's all coming from you. And that can be a difficult thing for people to admit when you're like, well, yeah, I created that issue in my head, basically. Excuse me. Then we have the High Priestess, which is about intuition, secret, wisdom, and knowledge. Having a book of secrets. So it's like you have access to these things, but are you using them? And then we have the Two of Pentacles here. I'll show you. High Priestess. The Two of Pentacles is about juggling and balancing. But here she makes it look effortless. And that's kind of what we're striving for, is like, how do we balance using both our mind and our intuition to make decisions and to trust each other too, in order to do that. The King of Cups. King of Cups is about emotional mastery. Feeling things very deeply. We may not necessarily always show it, and that's not always a bad thing. Like sometimes it can be the the message of open up and show what you're feeling, but sometimes it's not necessarily like you need to show more of your emotions. It's more so like you don't have to tell everyone how you're feeling. That's not what I'm saying. It just means that you need to be able to feel everything that you're feeling and know how to, transmute it. It could be also Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, and we did have the water element already out, right? This is very much about water, so Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces are the water signs. I don't think any other sign really has come out. But the World, we have the World, which is about completion, coming full circle. This is also about travel. But it's usually like coming to the end of a journey. Then we have the Four of Cups. Four of Cups is discontentment, not liking what you're being offered. But again, there's a light and a shadow side to everything. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a bad thing. It could just mean you're waiting for the cup that really excites you and lights you up. That's not a bad thing either, is you're realizing, okay, I need to wait. The Hierophant. The Hierophant's Taurus energy, but it's about commitment. What are you committed to? And it's like a higher purpose. What are you spiritually committed to? Your higher, like, because, when you get married, because this represents, the Pope or religious institutions. And why do people get married in a church and before God? It's like we're making that higher commitment to each other. And so that's basically what you're waiting for. Six of Cups. Six of Cups is about nostalgia, looking at things from the past. It's also about childhood. So it could represent your inner child, or things that, something from your childhood that is coming up for you. Yeah, the Queen of Cups, we have counterparts, guys. We have counterparts. And the Unknown card. So here's the Six of Cups. What I was going to say before the Queen of Cups came out, which is counterparts. You're waiting for it. See, you're waiting for your love match. Okay, so what I got from the Six of Cups with this is when you were a kid and you used to watch movies, you know, probably Disney movies, because who didn't love those Disney princess movies about true love and finding your one true love? It's like, allow yourself to believe in that and to not settle for less than what feels like that for you, right? So it's not going to say it's going to show up exactly how it was, but like when you were watching those movies, or whenever we watch, like, I love romantic comedies, whenever we watch those movies, those ones that really stick with us, and we're like, oh my God, I want to love like that. I want a relationship like that. Like, I feel like don't listen to the cynics and the critics who are like, that kind of love doesn't exist. That's only in a movie. I get that sometimes we can get sucked into things that aren't real, right? And we have to check ourselves. But in this case, I feel it's like, no, allow yourself to dream and to imagine and to really put all of your feelings into what it is you want in this type of relationship, and believe that you can have it, because you can. Who says you can't? And it's also because you have a choice in the matter, in that the way that you show up in the relationship is going to determine whether it stays that way, right? And it's also like how you see it. So it's like, I want to put this into words that makes sense. Like, if you are feeling that energy towards this person, then, and you consistently work at that, you're going to get it mirrored back to you, and it's always going to be that way. So you don't really ever have to worry about it not working out, because that's just like, if you even give into that thought of it's not going to work out because things never work out, right? That you'll see how those thought patterns are actually what's going to kill the relationship. So if you just focus on how you feel with this person and choose loving thoughts because of that, I really hope this is making sense. Your relationship will always be that loving Disney, like Disney princess and prince, king and queen type feeling of like, this is the person of my dreams, you know? I really feel like that's what it is. It's like back to when you were a kid and you first had these inspirations for what love was to you, probably whether it was because you didn't see it in a reflection of your parents or whoever, or maybe you did, like maybe grandparents, like you did see it somewhere with a couple and you were like, oh, I want to love like that. But maybe you made up your own version of it through watching like movies and when you were a kid, or whatever you used to watch. It doesn't have to be Disney, but I'd say Disney is probably 95% of us as kids growing up watching those things. You know, and staying committed to like that, because that type of love does exist, no matter who wants to say it doesn't. It's just, it may take a little bit longer, and you may have to turn down a lot of cups. That's the Four of Cups energy. You may have to turn down a lot of cups. You may have to be alone for a while until you actually find that relationship, that person who does match you, especially if both of you have to go through healing processes for years and years in order to get to that place of being able to share that type of love with each other. It is still possible. And then we have the Unknown card. So this card is unique to this deck. It's not in every tarot deck, and it is exactly like it says. It's the Unknown card. So right now it's unknown. It's like you're asking, who is this person? Where is this person? When is it going to show up? And it's unknown. For good reason, I guess. You're not meant to know. Because what I really get is that because right now your process is with yourself. If you knew, you may not continue doing work on yourself to get to that place. So if you knew who the person was, you may be like, oh, well, I already know. So, you know, I don't have to do any more work. that's really what I get. Okay, these are my Wild Unknown Archetype cards. They're extremely powerful and deep. So I'm going to get one just to wrap up this reading. This has been really a beautiful reading. This one, let's do agape. I don't like that word. Let's read it. I'll show it to you. It can also be like that, or like that, or like that. Okay. These freaking numbers too. I just Roman numeral. They kind of kill me here. What am I looking for? LXXO. Here we go. Okay. You're never gonna guess what it represents. Had to clear my throat. Devotion. That's the Hierophant I was talking about. Commitment and unconditional love. That's what this card represents. Okay, these cards don't fucking play around, I swear. What if instead of putting yourself at the center of your spiritual practice, you put God, Goddess, or nature at the center? How would this change your approach? Such is the energy of agape. It is alive when we are in awe and wonder, our breath taken away by the sacred force that surrounds us and asks for nothing in return. This card can indicate a spiritual initiation that stretches your capacity to love and serve. You sense the earthly as the heavenly, and vice versa. Such an initiatory moment can appear in any form and, like a healing balm to the modern soul, its effects last a lifetime. The agape card may also suggest you reassess what you worship every day, consciously or unconsciously. What are you elevating? Where does the sacred ladder you climb ultimately lead to? So when light, it says it's service, reverence, honor, and joy. And when dark, it's spiritual bypassing and righteousness. Agape can also be felt as an overwhelming love of family, partner, community. Recognize it by a deep swell of gratitude. The Greek word agape informs the English word agape. I think it's agape, I don't know. To have the mouth agape, which is like open, is to be awestruck by something of breathtaking delight. We're made humble once again. I mean, yeah, allow yourself to, and I literally was talking about how children and how like we look at things and we're just like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. Or did you notice that? Did you like just watching the sunset, sitting and just watching the waves of the ocean or the birds, the butterflies, the bees, looking at the flowers, all of those things, like finding love and connection and awe in the simple mundane things, because that's, if you practice doing that now, that's what's going to show up in your relationships. I'm like getting the chills. That's what's going to show up in your relationship. You're going to look at that person and like every little thing that they do, you're going to be like, I just love the way you chew your food, even though it's like they're chewing with their mouth open and making a big mess. You know, I'm just making an example. Like all of the little things that you possibly don't like about yourself, they're just going to look at you and be like, wow, that's amazing. I love the way you laugh, even though like you snort or something, you know, and you're going to be like, really? You love my laugh or something? But do you do those things with other people in your life? Do you do it with yourself? So start practicing doing those things, and that's what you're going to attract to you. And I think that is what unconditional love is too, is loving someone no matter how they show up, right? Yeah, they're basically saying you've said enough. So if you'd like to work with me and you'd like your own reading, please email me at empoweringyouраuthenticity@gmail.com or follow me on Instagram at empoweringauthenticity. I post a lot there, and you can direct message me there to set it up. I do 30 minutes and 60 minutes pre-recorded or live over Zoom. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe. All right, talk to you later.